Hola, gente. How's it going, guys? Welcome to Oya Cinema Club. Here today, we are going to be reviewing Pulp Fiction. And it is my pick because I started this theme called Cult Classics. We did a whole bracket and everything. Now we've been having a debate if even Pulp Fiction is even considered a cult classic. But that debate is maybe from when we start or later. I don't know. Or maybe we won't even do it. But I'm here with your lovely host, Chris, Stella for the first time, Jason, no, for the second time actually, Stella, JP, Michaela, and of course me, Steve. And the reason I picked this movie is because it is a movie that I actually enjoy. And here's what IMDb has to say: the lives of two mob hitmen, a boxer, a gangster, and his wife, and a pair of dinner bandits intertwine in four tales of violence and redemption. The director Quentin Tarantino, uh, more stuff. Uh, that's the movie. This is not my first time viewing the movie, but I will leave my initial thoughts for a little bit later. Let's start with initial thoughts from you guys. Let's start with the ladies, shall we? Stella, since we're
I don't want to go first. No.
Okay. Go first. Okay, then Michaela, you go first.
Okay, so first off, this is a new thing that I haven't really talked about yet, but I officially am coming out as non-binary. So not a lady anymore, guys.
All right.
So that's something that's been fun. Anyways, no, there's a reason why that this movie, it's beautiful, and we'll get into the cinematography later, but not only is there's a sense of humor that goes through the entire film that goes with the darkness of what happens, but it's so pretty to look at. I don't think that there is a single shot in this film that isn't beautifully colorized. You can just see how much he really does appreciate this art form. And that's where I'm going to start.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Michaela. Let's go with Chris.
Yeah, so one of the big things for me was I wanted to look at award nominations because I was like, I wonder how many awards it won. And it was up for a lot of Oscars and it won one. So I was kind of surprised by some of the nominations. Travolta was up for Best Actor, which was surprising to me because Samuel L. Jackson was Best Supporting Actor. They were both nominated. Neither of them won. The only award it won at the Oscars was Best Original Screenplay. So it was nominated for Best Picture. But the big thing for me was all the big movies of that time. Shawshank came out then. The Lion King was that year. There was a whole bunch of big movies. Forrest Gump came out. That's the one that won all the awards that year. So for me, my initial thoughts are totally about I wanted to know where we were at it, at the time in cinema. And there were so many other big movies that year as well.
Thank you so much, Chris. Let's go with Jason. Oh, my bad.
Yeah. You look good, Jay.
So this is not my first time seeing this movie. I told you guys last week, this is my favorite movie of all time. This is, to me, the top of cinema. So excited to talk about this movie with you guys and get your reactions. I think upon this viewing of the movie, one of many, I started to actually look at it a little bit differently. I started looking at it more for the same reason I started looking at it when I first watched it. I'm back to the writing again. The whole time I'm just it's so lyrical. There's so much great dialogue in this thing. I think that's what attracted me to it initially. And then the monologues in this thing are the kind that you want to memorize just so you can quote, you know what I mean, out and about with a group of friends. That's what this movie was for me in college. I would learn the monologues from this movie just so I could quote them at a party. You know what I mean? They're incredible. So I'm just right back to that tip on this movie. There's a lot of stuff to like about this movie. It's a master. We're realizing it's one of those moments in the 90s where this movie doesn't even feel like it's from the 90s. I realized it just feels like a movie. It doesn't feel like there's a time period attached to it per se, which is interesting. But yeah, I also considered the other films that were released that year too, but it's this movie's high up there, man. So I still feel very strongly about it. To me, the movie still holds up. There are some things that are starting to feel a little problematic about it. It's a classic movie, though.
Thank you so much, Jason. I defer on the whole. It doesn't have a time period because they were freely using the N word, so that puts it.
Oh, we should talk about that. That's what I meant.
But Stella, tell us about your initial thoughts.
I love it. I've watched it a lot of times also. A big thing that I like about it is how it's like about like the mundane things are a lot of the movie. Like it's almost like it's like an action movie with less action and just more of like the hitmen talking about, you know, cheeseburgers while they're on their way to do their thing. Like just a lot of, I don't know, it's a great movie. Very beautiful. Yeah, that's all.
Thank you, Stella. JP.
Did you guys know that this was the movie that Phil Lamar got his first headshot for?
I think you told us that last week. That's awesome. That's awesome.
They didn't get it, JP.
Nope. I liked it. I like Pulp Fiction. It's definitely a better LA movie than, let's say, La La Land or Crash. Remember those pieces of work? I remember. I want to forget. They're not great movies. I think they also won many awards.
Probably.
Yeah. People thought that. Did Crash win? Crash didn't win. I hope not. It was nominated.
La La Land did.
La La Land didn't win. People thought La La Land won.
Oh, well then
That's
I'm
what
one of those
happened.
people.
That was you didn't see the whole thing.
No, I didn't.
Someone had to put a moonlight on that situation.
You're right. How did I forget about that? It's weird.
But anyways, no, I really like this movie. It's a fun a very fun, problematic movie. Sure, why not? I mean, but you know, even if we try to say, oh, it's a product of its times, like, no, that's just the style of it. It's very blunt, unforgiving. Like, oh my gosh, and my Ezekiel something is my favorite Bible quote because I have never read the Bible.
Yeah.
They quote.
I love that quote. I wish that quote was in the Bible.
I want to see someone use that like unironically at a protest. And it's like, that's great.
It's one, like, he wrote a piece of the Bible. He's like, and just for good measure, here's something to add to the Bible.
I just love the balls on Tarantino. It's like, because you know when he was writing the screenplay, it's like, I gotta find a good Bible quote. There's nothing in here. It's all crap.
Well, let's just talk about the screenplay for one quick second, and then Stella, you got to tell us your first impression, don't? And then
No, you already did. It was me that I had to have us in.
oh, you haven't said it. Sorry. The screenplay, it won Best Screenplay. Also, it was a best-selling screenplay. Like, it was a best-selling book as a screenplay. So, like, people have really attached themselves to this script. This thing kind of changed movies after this. I feel like Hollywood was completely different the year after this movie came out. This like ushered in a new type of filmmaking, a new style of filmmaking, more open, more free.
Yeah, I was really young when it came out, but I'm sure like people seeing that at the time, you hadn't ever seen movies like that, really.
Yeah,
like
for sure.
Well, like what's really smart about it is it's one of the few examples of a non-linear timeline done right, because that's such a hard thing to do, you know. And it's a device that when we see it, it usually comes off as like a shtick. But with this one, like, because like that was something that I was trying to pay attention to this time around, because like before we watched it, me and JP and my roommate had a conversation about Memento and how Memento is kind of like a hard watch, but this one, like, you can just sit down and enjoy it. even though it's jumping around everywhere and it's still all connected. You know?
Yeah, for
And-
sure.
And
Yeah,
like the implication of that means that we don't have to continuously write things the same way, which is exciting for a lot of people.
Yeah, absolutely. Although I would argue that this movie also did the weird jumpy kind of cuts was Citizen Kane. Back in like 42 kind of told a story out of sequence. So he's sort of in that ilk as well, isn't it? Because those are a couple of movies that really did it well. And, you know, they're
Yeah, no, that's actually a very excellent point. But it's just, like I said, I think it's something that masters do well,
yeah,
and a lot of people try to emulate that, and it comes off as a shtick.
agreed.
Chris, you were
But
gonna
this
say
one, it wouldn't be nearly as good if it went chronologically at all.
Mm-mm.
Say that again?
You would see, if it went chronologically, it wouldn't be half as good of a movie. I mean, you see like Butch when he's like the little boy. That's his
Yes.
name, right? Butch. When he's a little boy. So then you wouldn't see him again till like over
Mhm.
halfway through the movie.
That's
True.
It just
a
wouldn't.
good point. But you know what? I would argue to that point that the movie would still hold up if we had to watch it in continuity wise. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
and even
it
then,
would still hold up as a film.
yeah, and
It would,
even
but
then,
you're
like,
right.
I feel like
It wouldn't be
when-
half as good.
The
Yeah.
placement of that scene is perfect. It's like Butch sitting on the thing, like sitting on like a bench, getting ready to have the fight. And so it's like it leads you right into that, and you can hear the crowd in the background and everything. So for me, the placement of that scene is really important to give us a sense of why Butch is the person who he is. I think that was a big part of it too.
Mhm.
And I think there's a lot of times in the movie where when you see Butch has this persona. I mean, he has complete and total, he's supposed to, exude masculinity the entire time. I think that's the whole point of his character in his relationship with his girlfriend, and the way he is with everybody, including the later scenes, which get way crazier. But I 100% think that placement of that scene was really important to us buying into him as being this person who just can't lose.
I also want to
Yeah.
point out the fact that like it's a dream sequence. Like that scene is a dream sequence, and that's like a testament to how great a writer Tarantino is, to the fact where like that's a reveal. Like we understand that is something that happens in his past, but like it serves more than a purpose, and that's like such a cool thing, because I don't think a lot of people could write it the same way, like have it go as smoothly. So maybe that's like also an editing thing too, but
Could you imagine?
it works.
If there was like a shuffle option, scene selection. Just
Don't tempt
shuffle,
the man.
just
Like
shuffle.
Tarantino's gonna hear about this somewhere, and he'll be like, "Wait a second, guys."
But can't you see his like thumbprint from this movie to like everything he did after?
100%.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit more refined later.
I
But
just
that's
wish
it.
that-
It's the same story structure. Also, might I add? Well, Steve, you haven't even said your piece yet.
no, it's all good. Keep going.
It's not linear. We're saving
There's
his for
something,
last.
there's something I was also reminded of watching it again this time. When the movie starts, I had never considered this, but when the movie starts, it's a Guy Ritchie movie. It's a full-on Guy Ritchie movie. I'm like, did Guy Ritchie steal his whole thing from a Tarantino bit in his opening scene of Pulp Fiction? The two British people, you can barely understand what they're saying. You know what I mean? They're in Los Angeles.
She was American.
I thought
Yolanda.
she was British.
Huh?
I thought she was British. I thought they were both British.
Tim Roth's British.
Roth was British, but the girl is American.
I thought she was speaking with a British accent.
Yeah, so did I.
Am I wrong?
No, I don't think
Oh.
she is. She's in So I Married an Ex-Murderer also. And I don't think in real life, she is not British for sure.
She just kind of
Is
has that
she
like baby
speaking-
talk.
Is she speaking with a British accent in this film?
I really don't. Now you're saying it and making me second guess.
Maybe we should analyze one of her lines. Any of you motherfucking pricks move, and I'll execute every motherfucking last one. No, I don't think. I don't know. She has so many good lines.
I mean, listen, everyone in this
I'm
movie
thinking
has so
about
many
what
good
you
lines.
said, though, and that is an interesting takeaway.
It felt
'Cause I
like
love
you could have
Snap.
split that scene into any Guy Ritchie movie, and it would just fit in perfectly to me. And then the music comes blaring in, and it reminds me how important music is to Tarantino's story. It's always been there. It's so important. He gets it.
I mean, if we're gonna talk about music, that transition from the beginning scene to like that beginning of like beginning scenes, and they have that music like dun, 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 like that's iconic right there.
Iconic, classic song now. Nobody even knew about that song, like really, before this movie came out, and that song is like old.
Mm-hmm.
The music is a character in this movie. It 100% is. And there's no score. At no point, I don't think there's any score, right?
No.
They just use a lot of classic songs that most of them you now know, but I don't know how many people knew them beforehand as some of them possibly, but some of them, like Counting Flowers on the Wall. I love that song now. But every time I think of it, I'm picturing, him driving in the car and pulling up to Marcellus at the light, which, dude, is totally a steal from Psycho. You guys ever see that scene in Psycho where the boss recognizes her when she pulls up to the light?
Yeah.
That's 100% what I think of when I saw that. I was like, oh my God, that's from Psycho.
Yeah, no.
But the music is a character.
Like that in this film. Like, I think the one that really impressed me this time around watching is when Butch is in the phone booth, like laying out his plan for us. And like the whole time I was just like, why is this not boring? Because it's literally him just in the phone booth. We don't hear the other, like, it's a lot of exposition. And I realized it's because of what he was doing with the camera. Like the camera is actually circling the phone booth. So we're seeing like different angles and shadows play with this character's face as he talks about how he killed this guy. And like, there's just so many like little details like that in this film where he really thought out every little thing to push the story forward.
Right on. I agree with that for sure.
Love that scene, actually.
Yeah, no, because like it's so beautiful.
Yep.
That's
out
like
with
that was the
Esmeralda.
solution. Like,
So since this film, in my opinion, is very iconic, there's iconic characters and there's also iconic lines. So I want you to tell me either if there was an iconic situation, like a particular scene, maybe a character, or maybe a line that you really enjoyed about this film.
Yeah, man, for sure. I could do that all day. I think the one that I hold on to forever is the Bible quote. Like that whole monologue and all that. That should have won him the Academy Award. I mean, that was just, you know what I mean? Just primo, yummy, just delicious, chew it up stuff. Every line that Samuel L. Jackson had in that apartment scene is just scrumptious. Also, I think the character that I like the most, she's always kind of been there, but I think now I'm completely decided. I think it's Mia Wallace I like the most. I think she's the most interesting person in this movie to me right now, honestly. There's a lot of stuff going on there with all of these characters. Tarantino's so great at writing characters. All these people exist in their own universe. You know what I mean? And all their universes feel very weird as they collide in this film. And it's like they are kind of like comic book characters almost. They're all got their, own little weird thing happening.
yeah.
In the background of the thing that's supposed to be happening,
This is good.
Okay.
One of my favorite lines, which is more like my favorite moment, which leads up to it, And it's a quote I say all the time. Phil Lamar when he says, "Man, I don't even have an opinion." Man, I don't even have an opinion. Well, you gotta have an opinion. Like, it's just so great because that we don't get much from him as this poor kid. But then the one moment where maybe his character may grow, we get something out of it. It's it's like a really great bad joke. Like you could just see Quentin just like, I don't know what to do with this guy. Wait a minute.
So there's your answer.
And it's such a sad way to go. Like, this poor kid being a pacifist and
He was gonna get away with it. Like he
bites the bullet.
literally.
It's great. That was divine intervention.
That might be one of the most shocking moments in film history.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I shot Marvin in the face, and like Jules is driving, so he kind of sees what's happening, but the gun goes off and blows off John Travolta goes, "I shot Marvin in the face." Like, that was so shocking. I was not expecting that at all. And with Quentin Tarantino, if you saw Reservoir Dogs, some stuff's going to be shocking, but to me, that was the most shocking thing in all the movie.
I agree. I mean, it still has that shock value to it.
Mm-hmm.
Stella, Michaela.
It's so hard to choose because there's just like so many little moments that are just like the whole diner is really great. Like the blueberry pancake scene is so fun. Oh god. Oh gosh. I can't choose. But honestly, though, like if I had like any chance to act out a scene in any like sense, I think it'd be the diner scene between Samuel L. Jackson and John Travolta in the diner. Like that's the one that like my actor brain would want to do.
Like that scene.
Yeah.
Yeah. For sure.
If you give that guy $1,500, I'll have to shoot him on the principal.
I am buying something with my money.
Yeah, that's great. I love that to death. That's such a gangster moment. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like just ultimately just so in control. I think that was a big part of his character too, isn't it? He's like in control of every scene. And you know what's kind of funny about that? Him controlling every scene is like him controlling his own world to the point where I kind of noticed it for the first time. Like with this, it's a new movie, sort of. What Jules says to Vincent is, I'm getting out of the game or whatever. Like, this is no good. Like there's been a sign from the universe that this ain't it. And then like Vincent ends up dying because he didn't get out. And had Jules been there, they both could have got killed, or Jules being there would have saved him. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I didn't really peep that. He was at it alone because Jules was a ghost. And that's what got him killed, because he didn't watch the sign. He didn't adhere to the sign that the universe gave him.
Yeah.
Plus, Jules would have never left his piece on the fucking counter to use the crapper.
Uh-oh.
I'm professional.
Vincent is kind of an idiot. Yeah. And I've never really noticed that watching this movie. Vincent's not the smartest guy, but the first time I watched it, I thought he was smart and cool because of the opening monologue where he's talking about going to Amsterdam. You're like, oh, that's a pretty cool thing to do. But really, Vincent's not that cool.
He's a druggie, bro.
Pretty dumb.
He's really sad. Like, I feel like this time watching it, I realized how sad Vincent was.
Vincent's on heroin.
Right.
Like, there's a lot of...
I don't think that like, really cool people grow up to be hitmen, Like,
that's true.
There's some screws loose. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And that's kind of funny, too, because you're talking about hitmen. But they make their job so casual because of all the conversation they have. It's like, no, these are just two dudes who are, sanitation workers on the back of the truck all day.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Just a regular conversation.
Yeah.
They're not talking about the job or nothing.
What you were saying I feel like that's the whole theme of the movie, right? Is like it comes down to choices and how like your one, the choices that you make dictates like where you end up, basically.
That's a pretty good call. You're right. You're right. There's tons of choices in this movie. Every character is shown like multiple choices, down to Bruce Willis having to choose what weapon he was taking into the basement with him.
Yeah.
Wow.
How smart was it that they wrote that scene in a pawn shop? Like that Quentin wrote that. That was so. I was thinking about that. I was like, brilliant move. Like he gets so many choices. He could have walked around for a half an hour. Meanwhile, I was like, poor Marcellus Wallace is downstairs. Like, choose anything. Get the chainsaw, whatever it is. That's what I was thinking the whole time. Like, hurry up, man.
Yeah, there hasn't been a whole lot of like man rape in cinema up until this point. I mean, maybe Deliverance. You know what I mean?
I'm okay with that.
This movie.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's like the one part of the movie I could have done without. Really, like rough. I don't really feel like it pushes the storyline or like I don't know. There's no resolution.
Have to show it. You know what I mean?
Oh, they did show it again in Hateful Eight. I mean, that's another.
That's true.
Movie.
I really like Hateful Eight. I don't know if that's a popular opinion, but I did really enjoy it.
I do too. Did you ever watch the really long one? There's like a 4.5 hour
I think I did.
version of it.
I had it on DVD watching it, so probably.
There's a
Do
really
you guys
long
notice
version.
how there's feet in this movie as well?
How could you not? Unwashed, all natural. Oh my God. I don't know what Tarantino went through as a child, but
He loves feet, man.
That. I'll watch Nazis being blown up to bits every single day, but put on some shoes.
He also has a whole monologue dedicated to feet in this movie.
Yeah.
Or a dialogue, a whole dialogue.
I don't be tickling or nothing.
Yep. Got my whole
What do you guys
technique down.
think? Is it sexual? Is it sexual?
I think it might be sexual to him.
Not like that. Yes, it is.
He features
that did mean
in
something.
all of his movies.
Vincent was right. That does mean something.
He's like, I give my mom a foot massage.
You give a man a foot massage? That was a good comeback line. Debate was over. You don't need a primary. We have our candidate.
I want to open the floor for anybody that want to talk a particular storyline or particular thing about the movie itself.
Favorite shot in the movie is the Uma Thurman at Jack Rabbit Slim's when she's in the bathroom and there's all the women like doing their makeup and everything, and she blows a line of coke and stands up. Like, that's my favorite line. I just love that scene for some reason, the way it's shot.
The way it's shot through the mirror.
Yeah, that's cool.
He's got
That's cool.
style.
I also like how she makes the outlines with her hands. You know what I mean? Like that sort of comes out of nowhere. I think Mia Wallace is very cool. I think she's the coolest one in the movie. Do you know what I mean?
She wears gold loafers
I didn't say
casually.
favorite line.
All you need to know.
Yeah. I wonder if women were like dressing up like that after this movie came out in '94.
Go to the speaker on your right.
The speaker on my right.
No, I'm saying that was a part of the movie.
Oh, yeah. And that famous GIF in that same scene.
That's pretty funny. Yeah, there is.
I want to say my favorite line. Can we move back to that?
No, go for it.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, okay. I really relate when she's like, I want that trophy, so dance good. I like that one. There's a ton of iconic ones, but that you just made me think of that again. I said I was going to write them down in the last movie because I can never think of them after. But there's so many when you're watching it.
Wait, what did she say? I want that trophy. What?
Yeah.
So dance good.
Yeah.
That's a good name for the character too, because she's probably the only one that with Vincent and Jules always gives Vincent a hard time, but Vincent's very much like firm to his he stands his ground because he's stubborn, and that ends up getting his ass killed later on. But like with her, it's like she's the only one that like pushes him in the movie.
Yeah,
she tells Uma Thurman's character is always like, it's like, come on, like I don't hate the awkward silence, like she makes him do a lot of things in the film that if he were to saw that in the beginning of the movie, it was like, no, Vincent, don't do that. You're gonna get yourself killed, man.
But that shot of them in the car after her ordeal is
so
good.
Because that's also a very great meme format. The first shot of them in the car going to Jackrabbit Slim's, and then them in the car again after the whole ODing situation. Like, oh,
they really did. Like, makeup did such a good job.
Shit. She looked like a beautiful hot mess.
I've always thought that too, that the makeup was fantastic for her when he takes her home at the end of the night or whatever. Like, that's the best.
Like, here's a crazy thing I didn't notice before. They actually have dummy of Marcus is his name? Like
Marvin.
In the trunk. Like, he had that made for half a shot.
Oh my god.
Oh my god. Like, a lesser man would have just been like, yeah, just put like a dummy blanket, blood on the blanket, we're done. He had a whole ass, like, made it look like him, like 9 yards. And it was only there for 2 seconds.
It wasn't even for 2. It was like
details.
So favorite lines. I love all Samuel L. Jackson's, but the one that really cracked me up was, "English, motherfucker, do you speak it?"
Do they speak English and what?
English, motherfucker, do you speak it? Yes, that's my favorite.
And now thinking about it, I really like the dynamic of how they open and also they close. I mean, the open, the middle, and the end of the arc of I don't know the characters' names, so I gotta say their real names. Bruce Willis and Ving Rhames is his name.
Mm-hmm.
When they like Bruce Willis is like on this like pan out shot, and they're like facing each other, and the only thing you see is like the back part of Rhames' character, and then you see the next thing when you see them is when Bruce like hits him, and then the last is like when he gets rescued, but then Bruce is looking at him from the back part, and he doesn't even turn around. He's like, "Yo, leave town, don't tell nobody." That's it. So I really enjoy how they set up those shots as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was like dual autofocus or whatever. That was very Citizen Kane too, I thought. When they first showed, Marcel Wallace's back of his head and the Bruce Willis shot in the beginning, I'm like, that feels like Citizen Kane. I've seen that before.
Yeah, I feel like there's homage to a lot of different films in this.
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, he's like putting together all the knowledge of film he's amassed.
Oh, 100%. And I think that's why he's so good. He uses the shots he knows he loves to tell his own stories. So it doesn't feel like, so it feels original.
Yeah.
But like, if you really think about it and you love your film and know your stuff, like, you'll be like, oh, I see what you're doing.
The scene at the end with the standoff, that's very Sergio Leone, Good, Bad, and the Ugly, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very Western standoff. Yeah, I mean, that's who Tarantino is, and we love him for it.
And it's such a timeless scene because, like, in that moment, like if that were to happen today, the LAPD still wouldn't show up for another like 30 minutes. Like, that's still a thing.
You know what? I actually was thinking about this. So here's something that bugged me this time around. I never noticed before. He goes into the apartment building. He lets off like 3 rounds. And the police never show up. Nobody ever calls if there's a shooting in the building. There's a guy in one of the apartments and he's let off 3 rounds at least.
At different times.
At different times.
Yeah.
There was a ton of time that went by. I'm like, come on, man. There's no way guys who are hitmen are shooting people in the building. And you know what I mean? And not going to have the cops called on them at some point. Like, you know what I mean? Like, come on.
I guess it would have to depend on what neighborhood that was in. Plus, I don't know if I was that neighbor and this is like a regular Tuesday or Thursday afternoon. Well, it was in the morning. That's another thing. That was in the morning. No, I would call because how rude! I'm trying to sleep. Never mind. I rescind that. That was like 6 in the morning. That was like 6, 7 in the morning.
Yep.
Because that's how much time. Also, who has burgers at that time?
People who
It was 7:30 because they had to hang, or 7:25, 7:30 because they had to hang it back for a bit. He said, "What time is it?" He said, 7:22.
Well, you know, if I was a neighbor, I would probably think to myself, "There's 2 sides to this story right now. I'm not gonna do nothing about it."
Yeah, that's one of the parts that bugged me a bit. This go round.
Yeah,
Is
those
the burger?
walls are so thin. You know they can hear his whole monologue from the other side of the wall.
Oh yeah,
That
for
same
sure.
neighbor is like, you know what? Yeah, a foot does mean something, doesn't it?
Yo, but if you want to talk about that, then how about the diner? Nobody left and nobody came in. You know, like at one point, or have somebody
Came
came
in and
back.
was like, nope,
Can I
going
get
to
a
Denny's.
table?
Going to Denny's.
It's gonna be worth it.
Or since it's in LA, it's like, no, I'll take the drive up to Norm's. That's a good breakfast joint. I'll go to Norm's instead.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know why nobody else came in the diner at any point of that. That's weird. I mean, but if you walk to a diner, you see everybody on the ground and somebody holding a gun, wouldn't you be like, nope? You just get back out of there?
Scoochie, scoochie.
It's another Thursday in Hawthorne.
I mean, really?
Dude, Vincent Vega rolling up on Lance's house with the car at like 100 miles an hour and landing on the front lawn, hitting his house.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's another thing. If you're a neighbor, you're like, what the hell is going on out front?
That's pretty
That's
wild.
when the cops should have shown up in that neighborhood. Because that was a nice looking house. And those are nice houses in that block too. Like actual.
Unless it was like really late at night and nobody heard it because it's like 4 a.m., you know?
Like that's when the cops should have came in that scene, I think. Just knowing like where it was at. Like, no, the cops would have shown up for that one.
Oh, dude, honorable mention for line of the movie is that the one with the shit in her face? No, that's my wife. That might be my favorite movie, or favorite line. He's like, oh man, that one hurt. Rosanna Arquette killed it. I mean, for the little scene she had, she was great in it. I thought also she was like that nagging, annoying, like that was on purpose. That was perfect. Although Lance is Lance, like he's the lazy guy sitting around the house, so like it makes sense why she is the way she is. We had to go through that whole monologue where she talks about all her individual piercings, and I just thought that I think she's a great character too. And Lance is great as well. Eric Stoltz is the man.
Yeah.
On that note, like it was the first time that Kayla brought up when we saw the movie. He's like, oh my gosh, look at Jodie's face right when she's about to plunge a syringe. And oh shit, that's right. She loves that crap, doesn't she? The whole needles thing.
She's the one that says 3. Like he's like 1, 2, and he's holding it, and she's like 3. So excited.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great thing.
The little strange things that he put in the movie, like when they're in the cab and the background's just black and white for no reason.
Yeah.
Like just strange little, like you're like, wait, those, I can't think of any other ones, but there's more than that.
But that is a interesting moment. It's like I don't know what that is. It's like it gets very like film noir or something, or like
that was definitely a choice because that was, in my opinion, this time around, that was the most hokey-ish standoffish scene in the movie because you could tell like they didn't try to hide the fact that it's a background, it's a car and obviously in a studio lot. You have PAs moving the car side to side and make it look like it's moving. Like it was so obvious that I was like, that I had to be a choice of something.
Oh, it's definitely a choice, 100%.
Why it's Pulp Fiction? You know, like that's the whole thing. Is like Pulp Fiction isn't something that is like polished and nice. Like it's like something like a Pulp Fiction novel is something you find at like a liquor store and you're bored and you have an extra buck and you're waiting 45 minutes for a bus. Like that's when you would buy a Pulp Fiction novel.
Yeah.
You know? And so like I feel like when you do see like those edges that he leaves on purpose, like that's like an homage to like that. And somehow it just makes it so much better.
So like that scene
It was
with
a great-
Mom in the back of the car, was that homage to like Attack of the Killer Tomatoes?
One of the great classics of Oi Dimelo Cinema Club.
Yes.
So I have a
Which Tomatoes would have been a cult classic, by the way.
It would have been. Me and my good taste.
I have a question for y'all. What was in the briefcase?
Ooh, I figured it out this time. I finally know.
Well, you are going last. I
Okay.
want to hear.
Wait. Des, I don't know if you know this or not, but have you ever seen this Mike Myers movie called Goldmember?
Yes.
That's definitely what was in the briefcase.
Goldmember.
Yeah, gold member in pieces right there. Okay. Stella, what you think was in
My
the
Vicky was a key.
I don't know why I never really thought about it too deeply, but I always like just got the feeling it was like his soul. Like it was like extremely important. I don't know, the glow and just like the theme of the movie, how it's about like I don't know, like redeeming yourself or like making the right choices to move you on your path. I feel like his soul. That's what I think. I don't know. Nobody knows, right? That's an okay answer.
What about you, Chris?
So he has the Band-Aid on the back of his neck, and I've definitely heard people say before that they think it's his soul, and that's why it was taken away, like Ving Rhames. But definitely there is an interview with Quentin Tarantino, maybe Robert Rodriguez, where they're talking about it, and they get to a point where they're going to explain what it is, and they purposely cut the interview, and then they come back and they're like, and see how that changes the entire story. It was like a thing that they were having fun with.
That's funny.
There's definitely an interview like that.
That's great.
Yeah, so like what is that called? A MacGuffin, maybe? Like it's not really anything, right? Is that the term?
Yeah.
Yeah, MacGuffin's more like an object that kind of moves the story along, but it's kind of pointless and
Right.
dumb.
Like it's supposed to be something that distracts you from what the real story is. So you think it's this one thing.
Yeah.
But then you realize that it's actually not.
I prefer blueberry muffins
I'm sure you
to
do.
a MacGuffin.
I could go for a blueberry muffin right now.
Me too.
Yeah.
Here's my theory on what's inside the briefcase. And it just came to me. It's clearly, I've got the golden ticket. Marcel Wallace has the golden ticket.
Yep. And he killed so many. Like, no, he has all
Run!
5. He has all 5.
Run, Jules! Run! Run to Marcellus and don't stop until you get there!
So they basically put a hit on all those kids.
Oh, no!
It's literally stealing candy from babies.
Oh, yeah, you know it's just not the one golden ticket, it's all theirs too.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Or it could just be a collector's item, you know what I mean? From that era. He goes, man, there's one golden ticket left. I'm just saying it's all the same universe.
Yeah.
I think it's important that we talk about what Jason brought up earlier too, about when we're talking about. And then Steve said like the use of certain words, and there was also like the scene where Butch is watching television as a kid, and there's extremely racist against Asian. You know, like it was there were racial elements that were very important, but also timeline wise, like when he buys a pack of cigarettes at the bar, it costs like $1 something, and then the $5 milkshake. The milkshakes are $5 nowadays.
Oh,
so
yeah.
like I felt that time element too.
Yeah, that's true. I did think about that with the $5 milkshake for sure. I was like, man, like that seems like the price of a milkshake, maybe.
Yeah,
like
now.
maybe 30, 35 cents off at best, right?
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
dude, 6 months from now, it'll probably be $10 for a milkshake.
I just feel like if you went into a restaurant right now, a milkshake is maybe if it's Big Boys, it'll be $6.75. That might be the cheapest milkshake in town. I don't know, and that's probably $8. I don't know.
Yeah.
Also,
That's
why would
weird.
a boxer grab a samurai sword?
He was trying to have some fun.
Because if he got the chainsaw, Sam Raimi would have been upset.
True. For sure.
Hey, he wanted to direct some samurai. He was a samurai guy, Tarantino.
So I have a question leading into that scene. Like, the gimp, is he just living in their basement? That's a thing? Like, he's their saved sex slave? Like, and he's really into it and wants to live that life?
Oh, that was totally by choice, and
Oh,
that
yes.
was so
Yes.
his thing.
Yes.
Because he was getting giddy. He's like my turn's after yours.
Yeah.
You know,
That whole thing, I don't know.
it's a Thursday in LA.
I mean, that's why I think it's the 70s, because like I feel like that's kind of not necessarily a reference, but there was like a bunch of serial killer tag teams during that time that specifically preyed on men.
And
So
Zed was like a security guard or something.
which is part of like the big one. So that's what I assumed that was pointing to. Like it was a very California history moment and like the worst of it.
Best cameo in the movie?
Kathy Griffin, because I did not know she was in that movie until the
100%. I was like, that looks like Kathy Griffin. It is Kathy Griffin. You're right. That's it.
Myra was like, it was
Kathy Griffin?
the redhead that pointed to Marcellus Wallace. Like, that was her. She was young.
Yeah.
I think one of the big players that always surprises me, even though it's like it doesn't, because he's in like probably the most famous scene of the whole movie, is he's the waiter at Jack Rabbit Slim.
Steve Buscemi. Yeah.
Yeah, like that's
Plays
the
Buddy
whole
Holly.
milkshake scene. Yeah, that's crazy, right?
Yeah.
Even though he was a main character in the last movie, he just has this small little part. But he's also so good at that part. He's so good.
Wait, what role
that
did he
they
play?
could have been a whole movie on that guy.
Yeah.
Wait, what role did Steve Buscemi play?
He was Buddy
He was the
Holly.
waiter.
That was him.
Mhm.
Yeah, he was Buddy Holly.
Burnt to a crisp or bloody as hell.
Yo, who was the guy that was raping Ving Rhames?
So he is in The Usual Suspects. Did you guys ever see that?
dude-
He plays
dude-
Redfoot in The Usual Suspects.
That dude got typecasted to be every evil guy.
Yeah, he's an evil dude in The Usual
He's the
Suspects.
evil guy on The Mask.
Yeah, he was the bit. That came out the same year. The Mask came out around the same time.
Yeah,
Not the
I
same
think
year, but real close.
I think 1 year later.
Yeah,
He was
that's
the
very
evil
close.
guy on Blue Streak.
Oh yeah, with Martin.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's funny,
Yeah.
man.
yeah, he's a good bad guy. A little more creepy in this one than ever. Yeah, and he was a cop. Like he was in a cop out. Was he a security guard?
Yeah, he was like in a cop uniform.
Right.
No, it was
He had a gun.
security guard or something.
That's why the cops don't show up.
Yeah.
They're at weird sex parties, dungeon sex parties.
Yeah.
Oh, that's even more terrifying, I think. Yeah, man. The elephant in the room, I think when you have to talk about this movie now, the part that hasn't aged well is Tarantino throwing that M-bomb around so freely and loosely. You know?
Yeah,
It's
he did it 4 times in a row.
you counted them?
Yep.
You got a little M ticker like click, 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 click.
I'm glad we got a count on it though. But it's just that the fact that he's thrown around so loosely, and then the shocker part to me now for the first time, well maybe not the first time, but like it really hits me, he's got a black wife.
Yeah.
It's like, holy crap. You know, so it makes me examine that character a little bit too. Like, did someone make him think it was okay to do that? Because Jules, who is his friend, isn't mad at him. So I was trying to like put it together. Like, maybe these are just character things more than anything else. But Black people still don't like to hear it. They're not big fans of it, no matter how you put it. But
Dude,
in this context, I just don't feel like that scene would make it today. But I also don't feel like there's any. This is my own personal opinion. I don't feel like I didn't get a sense of ill intent. Maybe just a sense of a lack of sensitivity. You know what I mean?
I can't imagine a gangster having a lack of sensitivity.
Did you notice that no one that was Black said it?
No.
It was like Lance that, he said it at one point. They called him the hillbilly guy, that whoever the guy is with the cop, he said it at one point. But now that you say that, you're right. Like, it wasn't actually said by, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, that does not. Ugh.
That doesn't age great.
Yeah.
But I mean, you got to take it. You got to take it how you can take it. Yep. Tarantino wouldn't write that into a movie today. I tell you that. So,
Yeah. And like, there was that one scene where, like I said, when Butch was little, that was like, you remember that cartoon that was very like racist?
Yeah, the little Asian cartoon.
Yeah.
And Christopher Walken had some lines that were pretty rough too.
Yeah, man.
Like talking about Vietnam.
Yeah,
But you know what? But from a character perspective, I feel like I was more okay with that because you know why his character would think that way.
Feeling. Yeah.
Yeah. After you go to war with somebody, maybe you don't come back, the same person. I don't know. Yeah. But that's a great monologue.
Voiceover on Chrome, StreamYard, camera or microphone recording, Google Chrome, window, StreamYard, HTML content as
What's
keyboard
happening?
Focus.
That was great.
You are currently on HTML content. Web area, press Control, Option, Shift, down arrow.
What is that?
I thought something happened on my computer. I was like, what did I do?
The robots are taking over. Singularity.
Get down to your human bomb shelter. What?
Alexa, list all the racial slurs in Pulp Fiction.
Oh my god. I mean, yeah, like, I think the Chris Walken monologue is just another piece of deliciousness in this movie, man. And it only can be delivered by, I don't know if there's another human who would have given a better performance of that monologue.
Yeah.
Jim Carrey?
I don't think so, man.
No, I don't think so.
He would have been enthusiastic about telling it, like this was in the ass of like 3 people.
Yeah, no.
I think that's the best that can be performed. I don't think it can be performed any better.
Yeah.
Well, if
So
you guys
serious.
don't have any more scenes or things you want to discuss, I think it's time for final thoughts.
Okay.
So, final thoughts.
All right. I'll jump into the final thought.
Go for it.
I feel like this is a classic movie. I believe as a film, it holds up very well. I believe it's a throwback to the French New Wave. I think it's an introduction to a new wave of cinema. I believe this movie created its own genre, even, of weird gangster noir type of dark comedy films that didn't exist here really before that. But there are some segments of this movie, man, that I'm afraid may not make it because in the halls of time, in maybe like 50, 60 years, people are going to say, wow, you know what I mean? In 94? But I still think it's a great piece of cinema. I love it. It's my favorite movie of all time as of now, and still nothing has dethroned it just yet. It's an inspiration. I think this movie's aspirational. I believe a lot of people probably became filmmakers because of this movie. I think a lot of people were drawn to the idea of storytelling. And Tarantino, he has his own thing. It's a Tarantino thing. You can recognize it anywhere, whether he writes a book, a screenplay, a play. His thing. And that's cool for an artist to do that. So I think he's a very important artist of our time as well. And he just was one of the artists that kind of has his finger on the pulse of like pop culture at all time, because he sort of is pop culture.
Yeah.
That's my take on my final thought on the movie for 2022.
All right, I'll go. Yeah, no, like I think Jason covers a lot of the bases. Like this film is beautiful to watch. Like there's just so many clever things happening that just like opens so many doors for so many people. And honestly, I think it is a good representation of American culture in the 90s. Like even with like all of the epithets, because I mean, it just shows how little we've progressed. Like it just pushes an edge at the time. Does that make sense? And like I'm not justifying it. I'm just saying that like I think it is a good representation of how they thought an edgy American would behave. And I think that that's gonna. I hope that that's how it's looked at in the future.
Yeah, like criminals saying silly shit and slurs, like that. Final thought. That one shot of the big Kahuna burger, like that had more ketchup on than like the Carl's Jr. commercial. But god damn, like that shot was like 2 seconds long, and I wanted that sandwich so bad. I wanted that. Sandwich.
We know what you guys are doing later.
That's my final thought.
Are you talking about that Kahuna burger?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, I kind of wanted a bite of it too this time around. I'm not gonna lie. I was like, where did they make the Kahuna burgers? Are those still around?
They sell out the Krusty Krab.
Because
Right.
Do you want to go, Stella?
No, you go.
All right. So for me personally, this movie's about the movement that happens in the movie. Like it is beautifully shot. The lines are iconic. We didn't name like Royale with cheese. Look at the big brain on Brad. When Mia wakes up and she gets stabbed in the chest, and Rosanna Arquette's like, say something. And she's like, something, like there's so many. This is like a wax museum with a pulse when they walk into Jack Rabbit Slim's. Like there's so many iconic lines. You could make a top 200 list, of the lines in this movie. So for me, that's what it is. It's I'll never forget this movie and so much about it. As soon as you said you wanted to watch it, I was like, nice, we get to see all these things delivered again. For me, that's what this movie is. It's something that I'll never, not have a connection with in some ways. And I think that's what makes me want to rewatch it.
Right on.
You want to go, Stella, or should I go?
Go ahead, Steve.
Okay. Final thought. Just like everybody's been saying, this movie is superb. It's incredible. It's actually one of those movies that, including myself, got me very inspired to see that it's not necessarily the same linear hero's journey timeline the majority of Hollywood films present. This offered a very different point of view and way of creating cinema, which I really enjoyed. All the characters across the board, even the supporting ones and people that didn't have that many lines, are very strong and very well developed to the point that you get them. The moment you see them, you really get what they're about, their mentality, their psychology, everything about it, which is very hard to do, I guess, these days in film. You have to do a lot of setup and stuff like that. One thing that really impresses me the most about this film is just the stellar cast. Because if you think about it, Quentin Tarantino was kind of starting. And for him to get this incredible cast is really amazing. I did a little bit of research. Maybe I should have done a little bit more. But one of the tidbits that I did hear was that one of the reasons was there were some of these actors that were trying to actually at this point to revive their careers, and that's how he was able to scoop a lot of these actors for the cheap in comparison to the what they get paid these days. So that was very interesting to me. It is a movie that I will definitely keep watching. I don't think this movie will surpass the test of time, at least for the next 30, 40 years, maybe more. There are some problematic things about it, but overall, it's a good watch, and I would recommend it to pretty much almost all people. It could be triggering for some, but it is still a good movie, my opinion. Final thought.
Oh yeah, I guess I didn't say who I would recommend this thing to, and everyone who's like 18 and older. Honestly, that's what I feel, and maybe some 18-year-olds are going to be ready to see this, but that's what I would recommend it to. Once you're in college, you got to have seen this film. That's it.
As quick as that 8-year-old kid grabbed that watch after being told it was in two guys' assholes, I'm sure 8-year-olds can watch this film as well.
Yeah, I think it's a great movie. I think it's one that the first time you watch it, it gets better with repeat views. Like you pick up more little things, especially with the nonlinear timeline. It just gets better over the years, I think. But yeah, that's my final thought. It's a great movie. I would recommend it.
Awesome. Well, I think that was a really good episode, and we got to honor one of my favorite flicks, Pulp Fiction. I just got one question before we go, and that's Steve, what do you got for us next week?
Next week, I don't know why you asked me, especially you, because everybody, you should know that you are next.
Oh, me?
So, yes, you.
Okay, great.
So we're in the theme of cult classics. Apparently, you got mad that you thought Pulp Fiction was not a cult classic. The IMDb told me otherwise, so I picked that movie. And now you get the choice to pick which cult classic film, according to your standards.
So my barometer is real simple. The movie had to come out, didn't get a big reception at first. Got a real big reception in an afterlife, DVD, VHS market, midnight showings. People just discovered it word of mouth, or it was a small indie that kind of just grew out of, the grass sort of thing. That's a cult classic to me, just something that's very organically built by the people.
Okay, so
almost.
Toy Story 4.
You got it.
It's something that sustains. A cult classic is something that sustains over time, and that you keep going back to, that you enjoy to rewatch over and over again. And I think
so
it's
Pulp Fiction, huh? Okay.
And it won't go away, even if you stab it so hard with that Clorox pen. I saw in the commercials it should have gone away, but it didn't.
Like a stain, you mean? Okay, so here are our choices for next week. We have, and I'm going to let you guys pick. So I got two choices for you. The first movie, or Steve, do you want to say what they are?
You can go ahead.
Okay, the first movie is the Rocky Horror Picture Show. My only rules are I cannot have seen the movie before. That's it. So I've never seen the Rocky Horror Picture Show, and I figure this will be the first time, and I'd rather share with some people than not.
I've not seen it either.
Awesome. Our second option, another movie I've never seen before, and I'd rather share with some people than not, is Beyond the Valley of the Dolls.
Ooh.
I haven't seen that one either.
Me neither.
So we got some options. We're going to pick 1, the Rocky Horror Picture Show, or 2, Beyond the Valley of the Dolls. All right. We'll do it on the count of 3. You hold up a 1 or a 2. Or 1, a 2, a 3.
You don't vote, Jason.
Oh, I don't get to vote?
Oh, it's a tie.
No,
It's a tie.
Tony got one.
I think
So that's 1, 2, 3. Steve and Stella is.
So, wait, what is that on JP's phone even?
It's a 1.
Don't even worry about it. You'll find out.
It's a 1.
It's a 1. So who wins? Wait, what is this? So this is Rocky Horror Picture Show?
Yes.
Okay. Rocky Horror Picture
Well, technically, you voted too, and you voted for 2.
I did.
So-
I voted for Beyond the Valley of the Dolls because I figured I would never see the Rocky Horror Picture Show.
So in a way, there's a tie in the current situation. So
How so?
I don't know much about you, but I just feel like you wouldn't like it. The Rocky Horror.
Rocky Horror Picture, I won't like it.
I don't think you would.
I don't know. We're gonna find out.
that's the one you're picking. It's a tie.
Oh, it's a tie.
Yeah.
Well, what's the tiebreaker?
I
I
mean,
guess you.
you.
You
Oh,
decide.
I'm down for anything. I'm down for whatever.
I'm the
I've never
tiebreaker.
seen either.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Because Dino's not here. What are you gonna do?
This is what I'm gonna pick. Whichever one is the easiest to view. That we're not looking crazy for it.
Well, I'm gonna tell you this, man. Both of them are a hard watch.
No, I mean like the easiest to find.
Is Beyond the Valley of the Dolls? It's 1970.
I know nothing about that one.
Is it a horror?
No, it's a musical.
Oh, so it's definitely a horror.
Well, it's just like, I'm just wondering if it's. Okay, like if it's supposed to be a play on a popular novel called Valley of the Dolls, and I just wanted to make sure it wasn't like a sequel or something.
Okay, I don't see either one of these streaming eitherwhere. So I'm going to say we're going to have to get a little weird and watch Beyond the Valley of the Dolls.
I'm in.
All right.
Well, that's the winner. There we go. So for Michaela and JP, Stella, Jason_Eccles, Steve TV, and Chris, or aka Telling Rocky Horror. We'll catch you next week. Bye bye.
Bye bye.